Paradox is gunning for Electronic Arts once again. When EA's flagship city builder died on arrival in 2013, Paradox helped dig SimCity's grave by launching the runaway success that was Cities Skylines. And now, Paradox's upcoming Life by You game is digging a new grave, hoping they can finally toss in the freshly murdered corpse of the last remaining successful title from Maxis Studios, The Sims. In this video, we're going to look at the new Paradox project and also check in on a small indie creator's proposed sim killer, Paralives. But first, a quick reminder to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're a fan of Paradox games, smaller indie titles, older games, or video gaming history, we cover that kind of stuff a lot around here, and we'd love to see you back again sometime. Now, without further shameless self-promotion, let's dive in. Backstory first. Once upon a time, Will Wright, a childhood hero of mine, created a unique type of game sometimes referred to as a virtual dollhouse. Others like to call it a life simulation. This game, of course, was simply titled The Sims, named after the digital people who populated his other flagship game, SimCity. I won't go into too many more details on that now, except to say that it was a runaway success that saw many expansions and sequels, eventually surpassing SimCity as the main focus of Will Wright's EA subsidiary, Maxis Studios. Not to mention becoming one of the highest selling titles in the entire history of video games in its own right. Then, enter Rod Humble. He's the guy most relevant to the current situation since he's leading Paradox's development of Life by You. More on that in a moment. Here's a brief introduction to Mr. Humble. Humble is no stranger to the life sim market. As a matter of fact, he may now be even more experienced than Will Wright in this genre. In 2007, he released an art game about marriage that essentially saw players controlling a blue or pink square and trying to balance the needs of the relationship between those shapes. In 2008, he became the VP in charge of The Sims at Electronic Arts, where he created The Sims 2 and Sims 3, which many see as the peak of the franchise. Following this, he joined Linden Labs as CEO. For those not in the know, Linden is the studio behind the controversial virtual world Second Life, which, yes, apparently is still a thing. I thought lawsuits had killed that off years ago, but nope, it's still here. Who knew? After 3 years at the helm over there, Humble struck out on his own with a game called Cults and Daggers, an odd little indie game set between the death of Buddha and the birth of Christ, where the player is tasked with creating their own religion and spreading it throughout the world before the old gods can regain their power. So it's certainly different. Finally, in 2019, Mr. Humble took over the Berkeley-based Paradox Tectonic Studio and the project that we now know as Life by You. Okay, now that we're all caught up to the present, here's why this is huge. EA has proven that when they get an exclusive contract for the game rights of something, or they otherwise achieve a monopoly, the quality level of that product tanks. For example, the Madden game's franchise mode has had some bugs that have remained for several years, despite the fact that they release a new version of the game every single year. Also, last year, over 60% of the cloud saves from franchise mode were simply deleted from the EA servers and not able to be recovered by any backups. Seeing as the cloud saves are mandatory if you ever want to play franchise mode online with other players, thanks to EA's always online philosophy, this is a huge problem for the game. So why do EA's customers keep putting up with these consistent problems? As soon as a viable big-time competitor showed up for SimCity, it was game over for the world's favorite city builder because EA's bugs and unwillingness to focus on playability and player concerns left them behind. Similar problems plagued The Sims 4, as many felt it was a giant leap backwards in the franchise when it was released. Upon that release, many features from the previous games were gone, including key elements that made The Sims 3 feel like such a breakthrough. The persistent open world, gone. Full customization of build and buy mode objects by color schemes and pattern, gone. Loading screens were back. Complaints lasted for years. With no competition, EA could be as slow to fix bugs as they wanted and didn't have to listen to the community to bring back anything. At least not without charging them an arm and a leg for it. This is why Paradox has so many gamers getting excited. Humble, as the former EA executive in charge during the best years of the Sims franchise, brings all the knowledge of what was best about The Sims and experience in the life sim game market to Paradox. If he simply releases a generic clone of The Sims 3, or even The Sims 2 with some basic UI improvements, he will likely cut huge into EA's market share and make this a real race to the finish. In all fairness, there's also a third challenger, a game called Paralives, an indie competitor to the Sims series that has been in the works since right about the time Humble began working on Life by You, though most of us didn't find out about that until recently. Paralives offers the kind of customization that was added to The Sims during Humble's tenure at EA, and later removed for The Sims 4 after his departure. It even doubles down with more customization and ease of use. So many things about each buy and build item can be customized, stretched, shrunk, or manipulated with simple mouse movements that many many Sims fans wondered how the billion-dollar EA studio couldn't give them after years of asking, but some guy working in his spare time could. That said, Paralives probably never stood a realistic chance of knocking The Sims out totally, because The Sims could always simply rip off many of those features themselves, possibly even beating Paralives to a release, given the slow development of the indie title. Then again, I'm sure many would have said the same thing about Cities Skylines in 2013. However, Rod Humble's Life by You changes everything. Now that there are two serious competitors to The Sims, EA needs to be very, very afraid. A release even half as bad as that 2013 SimCity launch, or the continuing ongoing development and support cycle similar to what they're doing with Madden and the Sims franchise, will likely lead to massive losses and is going to mean that EA faces the death of one of the world's longest running and best-selling games for a second time, thanks to Paradox. On March 20th, 2023, we'll get a more detailed look at Life by You, so don't forget to like and subscribe to be notified when we post that video, which will include some reactions from my wife as well, seeing as she used to play The Sims quite frequently. Thank you for watching, and please check out some of our other content while you wait for the next video on this topic to be uploaded.